This is my story, How to Fall. And it's about a woman in her late 20s whose boyfriend has dumped her, and so you can imagine me as a woman in her late 20s whose boyfriend has dumped her. And I'm moving to the story a little bit. She's on this sort of awful singles ski weekend that she's reluctantly agreed to go because her best friend has told her that to try to get her out of this kind of deep ditch of depression she's in. And so they've scouted out the wares in the bus ride up there and find these lawyers, and they are at the dinner table with them at, near the bed and breakfast where they're staying. So that's all you need to know. The lawyers were telling stories of spectacular ski accidents from their childhoods. Roland used to race. He'd had a nearly fatal collision with a tree when he was 17 and lay in a coma for a week. They were certain he would die or end up a vegetable. I think my brother had already made plans to move into my room, he said. He closed and opened his eyes as though reenacting it for us. Then one day I just woke up. He transmogrified, Kevin said. We waited for an explanation. For around half a year, while Roland convalesced from his broken leg and 2 broken ribs, all the murkiness and fucked upness in his adolescent life disappeared, he said. His grades improved. He wrote a play, loosely based on his hospital stay, that earned him raves in the school newspaper, and he learned how to play the French horn. He read War and Peace. It was as though I'd cleared out all the clutter in my brain, and I suddenly had room for everything I wanted to do. It lasted until the summer after graduation. Kevin refilled everyone's wine glasses. We looked at Roland now, who seemed uncomfortable with the attention he'd drawn. Then I went back to ripping off convenience stores, he said. I believed him until the corner of his mouth turned up in a smile. He was a god as a racer, Kevin said. I'm far more restrained these days, he said. His restraint would make your hair stand on end, Kevin said. I'm Mr. Leisure out there. I snowboard with the high school dudes. How old are you? Amanda asked him. 30. Have you ever been married? Amanda was a financial analyst and accustomed to gathering information before committing her clients' resources. I shot her a look. Yes, he said. Somehow I knew it, Amanda said. She died, Kevin said, not from skiing. I'm so sorry. How did she die? Amanda said. She had an aneurysm, he said. Listen, I don't want to depress everyone. That was a while ago. 2 years, Roland said. You poor thing. Amanda leaned toward Kevin with increased interest. My uncle had a stroke. He's better now. They got to him early, I guess. How old was she? 26. My God, that's so young. It is. He fidgeted with clasp on his leather watch band. Anyway, how long have you guys lived in the city? My whole life, I said. 5 years, Amanda said about herself. Then she told them about my childhood. It was a sweet gesture, I suppose, though she mangled several details and made me sound fairly disturbed, and my father sounded like a polygamist. While she was talking, I started to picture Kevin's young wife the day before her death, booking a vacation she'd never take, or buying groceries she'd never eat. And then I remembered Mitchell, and I realized that's her ex-boyfriend. And I realized he was at a secure distance now, and I felt calm, because when you got right down to it, what had happened to me? Nothing life-threatening, no coma, no aneurysm. I poured myself another glass of wine, then 2 more, and we had shots of vodka after that, which Amanda said should be our last. We started telling jokes, or maybe I just did. I told him the one about the city boy moving upstate. He gets invited to a party by his downstairs neighbor. What'll it be like, he asks. Oh, it's going to be wild, the guy says. There's going to be some drinking, there's going to be some fucking, there'll be some fighting, and maybe a little dancing. Who all's coming, the city boy asks. Oh, it's just going to be you and me. I'm not sure why I told that one, or why I thought it was so funny, but the men laughed and Amanda didn't. So the first guy gets raped, she said? No, I said, that's not it at all. Then what is it? It's about false advertising, I said. Roland raised his glass, and then underneath it all, we just want to drink, fuck, fight, and dance. The night he broke up with me, Mitchell and I decided to sleep together one final time, and when he slipped out the front door in the morning, I felt surprisingly intact. I had the typical, what did you do over the weekend conversations at the media distribution company where I work. I accomplished a few basic tasks, and I thought, maybe this will be easy. And then I thought, what does it mean if it's easy? And then I started to call Mitchell to ask him what it meant. But I remembered the rule we made about not calling, and so I hung up. After work, I went to the Museum of Natural History and I coursed around my favorite spots, the whale and the dinosaurs and the pygmies. I tried to make it fun so that it would be a story I'd tell my friends. You know what I did? I went to a museum by myself, and you know what? I had a blast. And they'd think, she's going to be just fine. I always liked seeing people alone in museums, jotting down notes, lingering at a painting or a piece of Mayan pottery. I liked the idea that I could be like that. But I began to feel very self-conscious, and I wanted to get to a phone so I could call Mitchell. I had left my cell phone at home so I wouldn't be tempted. I hightailed it through the park. It was November and fairly cold, and you could see the breath emerging from the mouths of the bundled-up joggers and shoppers who passed by. I began to think that going out without a phone had been a mistake. I wondered, what if he calls? He called, I thought, or stopped by to make up, and I wasn't there. Convinced that this would happen, I stayed in the next few nights watching DVDs. I chose ones I thought would distract me, like The Matrix, with which my diminished concentration I couldn't really follow. People in pods in a world that might or might not exist, and Keanu Reeves in a black coat taking pills and shooting people in what looked like the entrance to a bank. At 11 the following Sunday night, I called Mitchell and told him that if he came over and we slept together, it didn't have to mean anything. Brilliant move. It was 2 weeks before I heard from him, and over those nights it was like I imagined life must be in a methadone clinic, cold sweats and a soul-shriveling restlessness. But this is nothing new. Everyone in every country of the world is bushwhacked through this. It probably didn't help that we slept together twice more. I have no explanation other than that both times I believed that we were back together, though he explicitly told me, "Are we clear on this, John?" We weren't. When I left at 3 and searched for a cab, I did this thing where I dug my fingernails and one time a pencil into my arms, the way I would as a little girl when the doctor gave me a shot and I wanted to divert the pain. I saw my reflection once in the wide-angle mirror of my apartment building's lobby. My hair was squashed and matted and my arms were blotched with little red cuts. I looked like a junkie with shitty aim. Under the silky light of a storybook moon, the four of us walked back through the cold to the B&B. The proprietress was at her desk when we arrived, and she asked us for our breakfast preferences. She handed us sheets of pale green paper with an impressive list of food and beverage selections. I circled grapefruit juice and pancakes and bacon, and then thought better of it and crossed out the bacon, and then wrote out the word bacon, and then wrote the word yes next to bacon, so what the fuck? I asked for a pot of coffee. It said, a cup or a pot? And I liked the idea of someone brewing a whole pot just for me. We turned in our list and then we lingered in front of our room. The dog barked from downstairs. I thought Amanda might ask the guys in, and I would have gone along with it, but it was better we went our separate ways. The rooms were small and one of us might have felt trapped. We could hear their voices through the walls, though we couldn't make out what they were saying, even when we listened through the water classes. At the mountain the next morning, I was the lone member of our foursome who had to rent equipment. In the rental shop, I began to feel jittery. I was a car ride away from my phone. I saw a couple getting their skis fitted, and it occurred to me that it had been nearly a month and Mitchell might have a new girlfriend by now. And then I thought, what if they're here? Or what if I ran into them? When I returned outside, Roland was waiting for me. He said Kevin and Amanda hadn't wanted to wait, but they'd meet up with us later. You'll be bored to tears, I said. I won't in the slightest, he said, and then I remembered this was a singles trip. It now felt awkward, the idea of skiing all morning with Roland the racer, who'd start guiding me through my intermediate turns like I was 12. But there was no other choice, really, so I decided to make the best of it. We began one of those personal resume conversations, and for the first trip it went well enough. But on the second ride I drew back, like I was spoken for, which of course was absurd. I encouraged him to tell more stories of ski accidents he'd witnessed or heard about. By our third run, I was convinced I would die on the mountain, that I would hit a tree or land on jagged rocks or fall a few thousand yards head over heels until my lifeless body came to rest in a pile of white. I fell 5 times before lunch, twice face first because I'd crossed my tips, and in each instance Roland was there to carry my lost ski to me and say encouraging things like, "You were really feeling it there." It couldn't have been much fun as I drifted more than once on our chairlift rides into a private theater wherein I was screening a movie of me and Mitchell and Kate May, when we stared at the sky until 5 and then slept together in our bathing suits on a lounge chair on our hotel room deck next to a pitcher of daiquiris. We barely moved the whole day, and in those hot, dreamy hours, something in me altered. Mitchell slipped out that evening and didn't come back for 2 hours. I remember heading out in my bare feet, searching for him down side streets and through shop windows. I had a panic attack. sweats and heart palpitations until I saw him again 2 blocks from the hotel in his tight black t-shirt and jeans, carrying 2 clear plastic boxes with steaks and mashed potatoes from a restaurant. He was perplexed by the sight of me on the sidewalk with no shoes and just a t-shirt and my bikini bottom. "Where were you going?" he asked. "I thought you weren't coming back." He stared in disbelief. "Do you have any idea how twisted that is?" Amanda was upset that I was going to miss the pool party at the heated pool and said she would throw up the chemistry of the whole weekend. And wasn't I interested in Roland? He's about 1 billion times smarter and handsomer than what's-his-name. She said she really liked this guy, Kevin. They talked the whole day about his wife's death, and they'd broken through some barriers. She said he was a pretty remarkable and resilient guy, and I thought there was something pathetic and even ghoulish about using a conversation about a man's dead wife's brain aneurysm as a way to get him to like her, though I stayed silent because over the years I'd used my own methods to get people to like me. I said I was getting dinner alone, that I might watch a pay-per-view movie on television. "There are no pay-per-view movies," she said. "It isn't a Holiday Inn." "Then I'll read," I said. "That sounds really fun. If it isn't, I'll know where to find you." "Well, come do this with us, Jen. It's going to be such a blast. It'll be good for you. You're not going to have a lot of chances like this." I nearly said something unkind to Amanda, but I knew she just wanted the company and I was letting her down. "Maybe I'll come later," I said. I went out to a nearby restaurant by myself and ate a bad Cajun chicken sandwich and a Caesar salad with a half-gallon of dressing on it. The TV that hung over the bar played sports, college basketball from someplace in the Midwest, corn-fed white boys. The waiter asked me where I was from, and I lied and told him the Hawaiian Islands. I have no idea why I said that. And why not Hawaii? Why the Hawaiian Islands? He told another waiter who came by and said he was planning his honeymoon and wanted to know where in Hawaii to go. "The Big Island," I said, because I'd heard it was the nicest. And he seemed nice, and I wanted to give him the best information I had. I tipped my waiter $10 because I'd lied to him. And I'll stop there. So, tip your way up.